Yeah, hello everybody, and now we are on stage, and now we share the 5 languages here, and we have switched to English instead of the different languages. So we carry on here on stage with all the participants in the workshop, and now I will leave the word to Bruno Heller. He is a project participant, and he will take you through the next part of this workshop. So please, Bruno.
Thank you. Hello to everybody. Dear participants and the moderators, this morning you discussed the first outcomes from Best for Soil. You discussed about the videos, the fact sheets, and the databases. For us in the project, it's most important to get your feedback, to know your experience you made with these tools. Only tools which are user-friendly, helpful, and applied to the practice are really good tools. And that's the question I will ask now to the facilitators, that you bring up your experience and what you discussed in these subgroups this morning. So please, the facilitators will summarize now in some few minutes the most important remarks in their session and the most important questions asked there. I will start with Vincent. Hello, Vincent. I hope you are there. I can't see you through the Alps. He's also a Swiss guy like me. Yeah. Hello, Vincent.
Hello, Bruno.
You had a French group this morning. What were your experience? What was asked about the tools developed in Best for Soil?
I think there were not so many questions about the tools. There were more questions on the presentations, especially the one from Landwirte on nematodes. And I guess, our group is a small group, as there was already a workshop a week before where France participated. And the questions were a lot about when you control nematodes with chemicals or sterilization, what is the problem then with the microbial balance in the soil? Questions about using green manures, is this a good way to do? There was a specific question to the presentation also from Emma with the trap crop. What can you use the clover? That was a question from a grower. And I think that was it mainly. As I mentioned, it wasn't a huge group, but quite some, especially one person quite active.
The smaller group has the advantage that they can ask more questions. This question will be answered, or some of them, I hope, in a second round this morning on the stage when we come more to the technical questions. At the beginning here now we will focus rather than on the methods, but keep them and you will be called again in a second round to share these questions with the experts. They are also on the stage on the background. They are waiting for their input. Thank you, Vincent. As a second person, I will ask Harm. Please, Harm, what were the experience in your group in the Netherlands? She is coming up. Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, Harm. So also, did you discuss also about the methods, about the use of the tools? What were the experience of your participants?
Yes, we had, of course, the presentations of the three presentations, and what we saw in the Netherlands. We have been dealing with the nematode problem and also with a database for nematodes already for a long period of time. So that was most of the people know already this kind of information. We had the discussion on the starch potatoes with the early dying, the PED. That is a symptom that is recognized as well in the Netherlands. Also some questions. Many times you see such symptoms in the field, but you never know for sure what it is. Not too many samples are taken and brought to the laboratory to know for sure. So that's for sure a point of attention in the Netherlands. question.
Yeah, do your participants show an advantage to use these tools developed now by Best for Soil, or would be there challenges where the project could improve even the information given?
That would be my next remark. Two remarks here. One remark was, when you dig in all the information that is available, then there's hardly anything you can grow anymore, because you see so many problems. Sure, but on the other hand, it is good to at least consider all this information to make better management decisions. And on the other hand, we still have quite a few open cells in the databases, and there seems to be some practice experience among the participants, and it would be very interesting to collect this information to further improve the databases. That's also one of the goals of Best for Soils. And another remark, many people didn't check the website. That was the first time, but the first impression was very good. Good, well-structured, interesting information, but people have to dig in more deeply to give more constructive feedback. And I asked people to do so in the coming weeks.
Thank you very much. That's very helpful. Also for all the participants listening now, our conference here, you have a chat on the right-hand side of your screen, and you are free to write in if any questions that will rise up and you would like to share it with us. And also on the, as Harm said, on the homepage. So I will continue with the next person on my list, Michaela from Germany. What did you discuss in your group, especially about the methods, about the tools developed in Best for Soil? The technical aspects, as I said, you can bring in then in the second round. Yeah, Michaela. I don't see you yet, but she will coming up. I have seen you, and you had a big group. Yeah. Michaela. I don't see any movement.
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
now
a
it's
very big
happened.
group, but it was very, very silent and only. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Come on, that's good. You don't hear me, Michaela? I see you.
it is a little bit delayed. Yeah, it's a little bit. F5 is.
But continue to speak. We hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Have you special remarks about the methods, about the tools used? Did your participants have already seen these tools, for instance?
So I will just talk. Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
The participants really need more time, and I asked them to be very busy to enter all the remarks they have. It was a little bit, it was very quiet. We were lucky that one or two, and afterwards also Lena joined us to get a little bit used to the new techniques. I think in Germany, we are a little bit behind.
Mm-hmm. But what was your impression? They were silent because they were so impressioned from the work already done, or did they had a problem to understand, just technically maybe?
No, I cannot. That was not. I think they were impressed, and they encourage us to go on with that. And I asked them directly to help us to translate into good used German, because it is at the moment it is sometimes a little bit funny. And even with working with the presentation, I thought, it is. We have to do something to adapt it to farmers' German.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much for these remarks. And there are many people not with a mother tongue of English, and so as it's in my case, and then sometimes maybe for English-speaking people, it's a little bit strange how we speak. Yeah, please, Michael, you are one of this guy in English. It's much easier for you than for me. Please share your experience. What did you discuss in your group, in your English native-speaking group?
Bruno, hello, well done.
Hello.
Great conference. Hello. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's very easy for me because I get to speak in English. So I'm in awe of the people who can speak many languages. I think you're doing a fantastic job. In terms of the feedback we got, I'm going to collate the feedback we got in the group plus some of the feedback I've gotten in the preceding days from people who maybe couldn't attend but had took the time to look at the website for me. In general, all the feedback has been relatively or very positive. I suppose we're less experienced maybe in Ireland and possibly in the UK. But I'm going to speak for Ireland in terms of the use of some of the tools. Cover crops are beginning to become a point of interest in this country, but it wouldn't be possibly to the level that it is being used in Denmark and Germany. So I think some of the comments that have come through is very positive. They like the information that it's there and available. It's at a good level in terms of understandability.
Yeah.
Some of the direct comments, Latin names in use in the databases is something that people have asked if maybe when you click on the country tab that the common names could come alongside the Latin names. And I think that's a fair comment, but it's it's something I think we've discussed previously, but I think it's worth noting again. I think a lot of my interactions, people have liked the idea of the databases, but maybe some worked examples available on the website. And again, I know some countries have done videos. I know we have done in Ireland on how you use the websites, but maybe just specific worked examples on how to use the databases that is available on the website. There's been some requests for maybe increase the number of crops available through the database, which I think is positive. People want to use it and they want to see their crop in it. So maybe we suggested maybe through the feedback section, they can suggest crops that they'd like added.
Yeah.
There's some comments that they'd like to see more information in areas such as soil compaction, more information on organic matter. So I think that's an opportunity. And I think what somebody did mention to me is that we do have, and we're aware of it, on the fact sheets, we have a tab for external fact sheets. And maybe there's an opportunity there to bring in more fact sheets from around all the different organizations in Europe. So maybe the facilitators, we could maybe make more use, should I say, of that facility where we can link to some really excellent work that's been done all around Europe and help each other by collating it in one site.
Yeah, Michael, thank you very much for these valuable and very precise remarks. And I guess we will take them, or I'm sure we will take them all. And if all of the other facilitators, you have still some remarks, you had the possibility to write also offline in the Padlet. This Padlet will still remain open, so you can write in the next week if something will rise up or you have remarks after this conference. But I will go on also on Marianne. You moderated the Danish group, and what did you discuss in your Danish group?
Yeah, we were lucky to have two of the speakers in our group, both Lars and Emma, joined us, so people could address their questions directly to them, and they did. And some of the talk was that what does organic matter mean to soil health and nematodes and diseases in soil. And we all agreed that it's a very complex case, and it's there's a lot of interaction that we don't know about at the moment. So that was really the concern. How can we use the organic matter and the knowledge of organic matter content to both prepare our crop rotations and also battle with our diseases in the soil. And another thing that was to Emma's especially, it was the the trap crop use, how could that be done practically? I mean, the questions were concerned on practical matters. How do we do if we were the ones who should do this in practice? So yeah, as you said, Bruno, later on there will be some time to address these questions to all three speakers, and we'll go on with that later. And in our session, we showed a few videos and scrolled around on the different pages and showed people what to see. And in Denmark, it's not widespread yet to use the Best for Soil database. So this was one of the first introductions, and we'll have another year for this project, and hopefully this is the start for more working together about soil health in Europe. And if we extend the project or get a new project that could build on what we know now, then hopefully there could be adjustments and further informations and things to improve our web page with. So I just encourage people also to say later on here, what would you like more? What do you miss on the page? That could also be a possibility.
Yeah, that's exactly. Thank you very much, Marianne, for these remarks. And I guess we, in this project, there was a huge work already done. As you said, we started a few years before. And as also Michael mentioned, the language, of course, is a challenge, but it's also a chance because in this project, really, we exchange in 22 languages between different people. And it's very interesting to discover what happens in the different countries. So have a look on these tools and give us on all the project feedback what we could improve in there, because only if practitioners, advisors use these tools, there will be good tools. If they finish somewhere in a data storage, is a pity for that, and that's not the aim of this project, and we are a good way there. So I give you back the floor to you, Marianne, just to discuss these technical issues you heard, or the question about all the topics. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruno. Yeah, thank you. And we carry on here. Now we are in the technical part of the questions, as Bruno said. So feel free to chat, ask for audio and video connection to share with us what you have comments and questions. So please carry on. Yeah, the chat is available. Yeah. No questions at the moment, but then I'll ask Vincent from Switzerland to come in. Vincent, you said you had some questions earlier.
Yeah. Hello, I'm back.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, there were a few questions, and one was concerning this method with the trap crop from Emma. We really liked this. The question was from a French grower, and she asked, the clover will be destroyed, kind of, I cannot use it. And I said, I think you can use the above ground part of the clover, but I'm not really sure. So perhaps Emma can tell us.
Yeah, Emma should be here. Emma, are you online? She comes here. Yeah.
Hello,
Hello, Emma.
Hello.
Did you hear the question, Emma?
Can you repeat it so I'm sure?
Yes, of course. Now the question was, I think this grower, she's interested in using this method, but then she said, I growing clover, then I destroy it, so I cannot use it. And I said, probably you can use the above ground part, but I'm not sure for feeding.
Yes. We have done this in Denmark, that when you reach the time where you need to destroy the trap crop, then you can cut off the above ground material and use it for feed as you would normally do. So instead of getting a lot of cuts during the season, you get at least one cut in spring under Danish conditions. But maybe this will go a lot faster if you do it further south.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Are there more questions to Emma at the moment?
No, not from
Emma.
no.
Emma, how long did it take for you to become confident in the trap crop system? It's Michael who asks.
Well, we had a 3 years project here in Denmark where we tried on smaller scale in plots in the fields with this system to get some experiences. And during these 3 years, we had each year one new field that we converted into a trap crop. So it was during these 3 years that we got some experience with it, and now we are working together with carrot producers who are trying to or learning how to incorporate it into their praxis. So it's not a complete solution that we know is just running every time. It is still on a development stage, but the results from these first 3 years are very positive.
Yeah.
And I also want to just say that this method is not something that we developed in Denmark. I also said that we got a lot of inspiration from Holger Buch in Germany at Økoringen. So they developed the system, and we have adjusted it to Danish conditions.
Yeah. And Michaela, you wrote in the chat, you also can cut, whoops, where did it go? You also can cut the Avena strigosa and use it as fodder.
Under Danish conditions, we have not seen the Avena strigosa becoming very big, so it has not been so interesting for us to cut it. I don't know if it would be possible under other conditions.
And in the Danish part, we also had a question about could it be too comparable with wild oats in the fields?
Yes, and another participant in the workshop knew that Avena strigosa does not have the same seed dormancy as wild oats does. We have not seen it germinate in the season after sowing. So it has not been a problem here, but of course it is something to be aware of. Also, if you grow it further south, where there might be a possibility that it actually start to develop seed before you plow it down.
Yeah. Thank you, Emma. Then I think we have a question for Lars. Which part of the yield reduction in higher frequencies of potato growing on a field comes from PED on the one side and soil structure compaction on the other hand? Does PED include nematodes?
Well, taking the last question first, does PED include nematodes? Really, we don't know. We don't know the interactions, but go into the teaching book or school books, there's always a combination between verticillium and nematodes. But what we think is that there are more to it when we go underneath the soil surface. There's more pathogens, and we think at least that the Coleoptocum, black dot, and verticillium are the two most important pathogens. But then there might also be other non-specific fusarium, etc. So it is a very complex structure where either you have one one major pathogen, or you have actually a interaction between both nematodes and pathogens. And we don't know really when either there's an interaction or when it is only fungi. Well, which part of the yield reduction in higher frequency of potato growing on a field come from PED on the one side and soil structure compaction on the other hand? I think that what we clearly see is that there's also an interaction to soil compaction with pathogens. That when you have a compacted soil structure, you also get more infections by fungi, and you can see it if you actually make go to the field and dig a transverse to the ridge. You can actually see a small root system when you also have a compacted soil, and you can actually also see that the roots are more infected with pathogens. So I think there's a very clear interaction between pathogens and soil compactors as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Lars. And then I think we should switch to Harm and hear if he have some questions from the Dutch session.
Yeah, it's also a question for Lars. You were talking about crop rotation for potatoes. We also mentioned that there are more crops that are host for verticillium. So how do other crops and perhaps also green manures interact here? Do you have some information on that?
No, I don't have it, but because we have very recently be focusing on verticillium. That's only for the last 3 or 4 years that we have actually seen verticillium in our fields, or at least identified verticillium as a primary cause for PED. So we really don't have the answer on your question yet, but it's something we need to pursue. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and then perhaps a question for Mette. It seems a very expensive measure to the one you proposed. So it seems that you first create a problem through your crop rotation, and then need a very expensive measure to solve the problem. So wouldn't there be other opportunities? And when do you recommend farmers to use this method? So how, at what infection rate would it be interesting to use this solution?
Emma, are you with us?
Yes.
Yeah, hello again.
Yes, it is a very expensive measure. In Denmark, as I also said in the presentation, the carrot production, half of it is organic. And to have this organic production, we need to collaborate with other organic producers to get a proper soil rotation. And this rotation will include a lot of clover that creates a problem for us. So I agree with you that we create a problem and then we try to solve it afterwards. What we do is in the autumn we take soil samples in the organic fields that we want to use for carrot production the next year, and if the level of northern root knot nematode becomes above 50 individuals per 100 milliliters of soil in the soil sample, then we try to see, okay, is there another option? Can we rent in some other land, or can we use another area instead? And if that is not a possibility, if the soil in other measures is placed in the right place, located close to the farm, if it is irrigated, and it has the other characteristics that goes well for carrot production, then we say, okay, then it actually pays off to use this expensive method to bring down the number of root knot nematodes. But of course, we look into at the first place if we can do something else, because it takes a whole season.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. More questions from you, Harm?
No, not at this moment. Thank you.
That's okay. Yeah. Do we have more questions in the chat? This is Lendert, comments from Lendert. Could we have Lendert in? And you can tell them here on the screen. Lendert, could you please share cam and audio?
Hey.
Welcome, Lendert.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Well, I liked very much all the presentations, and of course, especially those about nematodes.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, and then we were discussing in the Dutch group, that are the weeds, probably you told us, but are the weeds the biggest problem? Because normally when we have oats, which is a complete non-host for Meyorgina hapla, the natural decline is that big that even starting at high densities before the oats or other graminae, the populations go down that strongly that we are below the damage level when there are no weeds or something like that. So, but in your research, oat was the control, and there you saw that there were still high levels. So that's why I'm asking, what's the normal natural decline in Denmark? What percentage just survives? And how do you explain that after a non-host, even these high levels are still there?
Yeah, and there was a question for Emma.
Yeah, please. Hi.
Hi. We have not looked very much into this area of how the population declines in different crops, but again, we have this the carrots that we experience these problems with are mainly the organic carrots. So if you have a crop rotation, maybe with 2 or 3 years of clover that increases the level of Meyorgina hapla to a very high number, and then you have oats that is a non-host, but that you cannot keep clean of weeds. So you have some weed species that to some extent support the population. So I think it declines, but it doesn't decline enough to get below the threshold. So that is what I think is happening, but we have not done a lot of research into this. So I have a lot of data showing it.
In your catch crop system, because of what you're doing, you're also taking care of the weeds because there is a fallow period. And the other question I had is because in the catch crop system there is also extra compost or extra organic matter. Did you apply this also in your controls, or could it be that the big improvement of the amount of carrot is also a question about or is because of this extra organic nurture?
We only added compost in 1 year in one of the fields, because compost goes into both the phosphor and the nitrogen quotes that you have in, or norms that you have. So most farmers are very skeptical about using compost, and also the quality of the compost that you have available in Denmark is not very good. So it's not a common measure to use, and that's why we sort of put that in the background in our research. So most of the numbers, or all the numbers I showed you, were actually from fields with no added compost.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Emma, did you have more questions in your direct chats that we couldn't see, Emma?
Yes, Mikaela had a question in her session about how to stop the trap crop to be sure that the material is dead. And we have plowed it in 15 or 20 centimeters, depending on what is normal on the different farms that we have worked on. Disc harrowing several times could also do the job.
Thank you. And there are a question from the French session. Exist products based on microorganisms or plants or plant extracts to control nematodes? Maybe we could. Who will come in here? Is it you, Landwirte?
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I was for a moment in the English session, and there was a discussion about garlic, because these are plant products, and it's known that some products within alliums they are very toxic to nematodes. This is this dimethyl disulfide, which is also in this NemGuard, which is a product based on garlic. And there are some nematicides, biological nematicides, for example, Votivo, which is Bacillus firmus, which is a bacteria controlling nematodes. But yeah, as is often the case with non-chemical control measures, they are very dependent on the circumstances to get them working. And for the Netherlands, we don't have a good protocol to be sure that these products are very effective. But I'm sure also the big companies, they are all searching for non-chemical alternatives, and they will hopefully pop up somewhere in future. So that was about the biological control.
Yeah. And Landwirte, you could think if it's effective to the harmful organisms, what will they do to the organisms that we want to maintain in the soil?
Yeah. Well, you can say that nematodes, because we have thousands of species in the soil, they differ very much in sensitivity for the different products. For example, even with dimethyl disulfide, Melodogyne chitwoodi can't stand it, and Pratylengus penetrans survives this dimethyl disulfide very well. So even within the plant parasitic nematodes, there is a big difference in sensitivity to the different products. The only thing where you kill all soil life, that is with steaming, because then you are above 70 degrees and that will kill your complete soil life. And also the old product methyl bromide, which is really a biocide. But when you look for the other one, even dichloropropene, monam, etc., most of soil life is surviving all these kind of chemicals. So you're not sterilizing your soil by this kind of techniques, but you are bringing in another equilibrium. And whether this equilibrium is positive or negative, you can't say anything about this. And that's what we, of course, want to do is, for example, what we do in the Netherlands with flooding or anaerobic soil desinfestation, which is also in our information on better soil. Yes, you are completely shifting your soil biology, and it's not for the worse in most cases. So, but yeah, well, all these interactions, it's just intriguing, and it will be also a part of one of the contributions later on in this workshop.
Yeah, and I think you could just very briefly explain what is ASD, because I'm not sure that everyone is familiar with the method.
Yeah, this is one of the best for soil measures we are asking interest for in Europe. That is anaerobic soil disinfestation. And what you are doing is bringing in about 40 tons of fresh organic material and then tarping it with impermeable foil. So what's happening then is that because of the microbial activity in the soil, the oxygen is depleting very, very strongly within some hours. And then soil life is overtaken by the anaerobic soil fungi and bacteria. So instead of CO2, you are producing all kinds of acids, like the short acids. And these acids, they are very poisonous to many nematodes, especially the plant parasitic ones, and also to many weeds and fungi. So this method was developed in the Netherlands as an alternative for flooding, which was done originally already in the West to control Dithyrlangus dipsacy in the flower bulbs. And in the regions where flooding is not possible because of a too low water table, this method of anaerobic soil disinfestation is used on a very small scale because it's very expensive to do so. So what you are doing is killing nematodes by the production of all these fatty acids. That's what's happening.
Yeah, thank you. And Lendert, a question more for you, and it's Gita from Denmark who asks, how much Heterodora avena multiplication in oat catch crops compared to multiplication in a whole oat crop in a growing season? Yeah, and this question, how much does a catch crop growing for a short period mean to the soil health compared to a crop grown for a whole season?
I think I have to give this question to other nematologists, because Heterodora avena is not a topic I'm working on, and I'm not sure whether it's a Heterodora with just one life cycle a year. Because when it's just one life cycle a year, then after 6 weeks, this life cycle is completed, and then the longevity of the crop is not of importance anymore. But when, like in sugar beet, which is Heterodora shachti, you have more life cycles a year, then the longevity of the crop is surely affect, which is making the final population density higher or lower. But I have to be very humble when we are talking about Heterodora avena. I don't have the knowledge.
Okay, thank you. And if you share questions here on the chat and you don't get the answer to the question, and I don't think we can have all questions in here. We don't have the time, but we will collect all the questions and all the answers to the questions that were not answered here, and write it to you afterwards with the questions, with the answers to it. So that's a way. And Gita, she adds here 1 generation for Heterodora avena. Yeah.
So then it is very comparable with the catch crop, as we use potato as a catch crop in the Netherlands. And then again, it's a question about the climate. But in the Netherlands, we grow potatoes for 40 days and then kill the haulm with a herbicide. And that's enough, like we saw with Melodognia hapla. We kill the nematode just before the new eggs are there. And I think the same thing could happen when you have a very short crop in more northern conditions, just to stop the cycle of Heterodra avene. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was also a question. For us, it's very important to stop the crop very strongly, to kill the roots as soon as possible, because the cyst nematodes, they develop on the dying roots. So when you cannot go can kill the roots very soon, you have to stop the crop earlier, just to be sure that the roots are dying. And that's why Roundup is for this purpose very good, because it first kills the roots and then the plant. But yeah, well, I don't think it is much of future for Roundup in Europe the coming years.
Okay, thank you, Landwirte. And then I think we should go to Michaela in Germany. Do you have questions from Germany?
I give the question directly to Emma, and she answered. The question was also about how to stop this crop, and we had the possibility that a colleague of Holger Buck was in our session, so he explained also a little bit about the trials. So they do it in some areas in Germany where they grow ecologically, and that is maybe also for the Dutch colleagues interesting. Ecological means no application of any chemical. So, and that is really, you have to take care for the weeds, and that is a big problem for them. And you have to keep the nitrogen. That is, so you have to find a balance.
Yeah.
A question for the moderator. Can you take me out, because I can't not leave the session?
Yeah. Thank you, Landwirte. Yeah. Okay, Michaela.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that was what was addressed different times here. That the weeds they are like a dark thing that joins, and we should also address that as a problem in some places.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe also add to the database.
Yeah.
Because they are also multiplicator if there are informations available.
Yeah. So as I saw, Harm made a comment that they should of course be avoided as most as possible. Yeah.
Okay. But there are different systems in Holland and in the Ökolandbau.
Yeah. More comments or questions from you?
Not yet. It was very interesting to listen to Lars as well, and the technique to view via the satellite about diseases was very interesting. But I think the German were a little bit quiet, so the questions I hope will come later.
Yeah. Thank you, Michaela. I think we should switch to Ireland then, and Michael there. And the English language session, because Grace, she's also joining from Great Britain. Hello, Michael.
Hello. How are you?
Have you collected some comments or questions?
Well, we had some questions, and Emma and Leonard have addressed some of them. There was another questions for Lars on how prevalent PED is in other countries, because I suppose the comments and the feedback was that it's more of a blemish issue in Ireland and the UK, but it is noticed. And so they were just some of the people were just asking how widespread is this issue throughout all of Europe? Do you know?
For us, it was a very big surprise that actually Cultivars black dot was also a major root disease in our potato fields, in our starch production fields, because for us, black dot was also a blemish disease originally. But when we start to survey our potato fields in this rotation with narrow crop rotation, we saw suddenly that both Cultivars black dot and Verticillium was two major diseases. And that was an eye-opener for us, and that's the reason why we start to pursue this question. And I'm sure, I don't know from other countries how big problem it is, but I know that starch production with narrow crop to rotation is very common in many countries in Northern Europe. So I presume that it's also a problem in other countries.
Thank you very much, Lars.
And Landwirte, you have asked what is the most important potato cultivars you grow? Well, it is the most important. We grow 60,000 hectares of potatoes in Denmark, and 40,000 of these 60,000 are starch varieties. 20,000 are a mixture of ware potatoes, processing potatoes, and seed potatoes for export. Yeah.
Do we have more questions coming up as direct messages to people or in the chat? There's something from the French session here. Vincent, black dot on tomato became a major problem after phasing out of methyl bromide. Yeah. And Vincent, would you like to come in?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to share this. This was also a long time kind of secondary problem. Black dot disease.
Excuse me, Vincent, can you get closer to the microphone?
Yeah, sorry. Is it better like this? Yeah.
Yeah.
So black dot on tomato was long time considered as a minor disease, often together with cocky root. And then when methyl bromide was phased out, then suddenly it became a real problem. And in fact, it's also a problem because the rootstocks are not really resistant to black dot disease as they are to cocky root. I will give some information on my talk tomorrow about that. But I remember 10, 15 years ago, there was a publication in Plant Disease about this black dot disease in potato coming back, becoming a problem. And I guess it's a general problem, not only in Denmark.
Yeah.
Perhaps we have a colleague, he's also a pathologist in vegetables, and he says he finds it even on more and more vegetables as a problem, black dot. So this could be a major problem in general in future.
Increasing problem and in different crops. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a little difficult for me to follow the chat. So if we have missed some, please, could you just ask to get in the different languages with comments or questions? You'd like to have Harm in?
Yes.
Yeah. You're there.
Concerning PED, it seems that the late varieties, for the late potato varieties, are less susceptible for PED. Is that what you also see in Denmark? Or do we only grow early varieties? And is also the multiplication of the fungus, is that stronger on susceptible varieties than on late strong varieties? Do you have any information on that?
First of all, the starch area is concentrated around 4 factories, and around these 4 factories, the crop rotation is very narrow, and we see actually the PED in all the varieties, even the early starch varieties and the late starch varieties. We haven't divided them to see if it's more prevalent in the early one compared to the late one, but we certainly see it in the late varieties as well. But we also see that some varieties perform better in some areas, and this has and therefore we have been asked ourselves the question: do we have more tolerance in some of the varieties? Should we actually try to screen our potato varieties for tolerance towards PED and grow certain varieties on more narrow crop rotation and other varieties on more virgin soil. And that is some of the things we will start to look into. But we certainly see PED in all sorts, in all our varieties, both early and late.
Yeah. Thank you. And now it's time for some of okay, we like to have Landwirte in here.
Yeah, I want to ask Lars and also to react on harm. Because yeah, from the Netherlands we know that praat-alleen spendkrans plays an important role, which makes the impact of Verticillium dahlia worse. So, and we know that we have differences in tolerance for praat-alleen spendkrans. So yeah, it's quite a job to make a division between tolerance against the nematode, tolerance against the Verticillium. So yeah, probably the farmer only wants to know which is giving us the best and the surest production at the end of it. So, but can you give a comment? What are do you grow the same starch varieties as we do in the Netherlands? Like for us, Seresta is one of the biggest ones on the problem. And what do you see when you look for these varieties? Maybe you can make a comment on it later on. Because, as you know, we grow every 2 years potatoes, and I'm sure that everything is also there in our starch potato region. And yeah, I look forward to share the information you have in Denmark on the varieties and the tolerances we see. That was my comment or my question request.
Thank you, Landwirte. And now it will be time for the last question or comment. Or almost the last question or comment before lunch break. Do we have more comments or questions in the chat? Okay. It doesn't seem so. Okay. Then it's time to lunch, and I'd like to say thank you to everyone to being here with us this morning. And now we have a break, 1 hour break. That means that all us who goes on European time in the countryside here from Denmark and in the other south of us, we are back at 1:30, and the UK and the Irish people, they are back at 12:30. So have a nice lunch, and we'll be back, and thank you.